Do you know the way? Do you know the Huawei? Want daily tech news in a way that doesn't suck? Of course you do. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Front Page Tech. Of course, the show that gives you all the latest tech news from one geek, that's me, to another, that is you. Happy Monday, huh? There's no happy Mondays. Hey, real quick, before we jump into the episode, just a quick heads up. Our podcast, Recycle Bin, is back. For now, though, it's audio only. We don't know if that's gonna change. Maybe, maybe not. We just published my favorite episode ever. For the first time ever, I interviewed Brian Byrne, the editor of this show and co-owner of Front Page Tech. We talked about a lot of deep stuff, like our earliest Front Page Tech memories, the struggles that we went through while building FPT, stuff that we've never said to the public. So if you consider yourself a fan of Front Page Tech, go ahead and download the episode on your favorite podcast app right now by just searching for Recycle Bin. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, iHeartRadio, just to name a few. All right, that's it. That's all about that. Now let's do the news. All right, so first up for the day, story numero uno. It was all a lie. It was a lie. The Huawei ban, the whole fucking thing was a ruse. It was a ruse. But of course, if you watch the show, we knew that. It was 100% a political move. This was not about security and fucking Huawei spying on us. Nah, none of that. This was strictly a political move by the US, by President Trump and whoever else you want to bundle together, against China. It was all about the trade war. And what do you know? After the G20 summit wrapped up in Japan over the weekend, President Trump spoke. Following a meeting with the Chinese president, Trump announced that basically they've just solved it. They made up. They kissed. Apparently, they're going to go ahead and resume trade talks, and Trump also said the U.S. was going to hold off on putting any new tariffs in place indefinitely. Also included in all that, he said that U.S. companies would be permitted to go ahead and work with Huawei again. They're going to be able to resume sales with Huawei. Now listen, as of this recording, that hasn't happened yet. Like, they're still blacklisted for now. So we don't really know when this all comes into effect again, when it's all good to go for Huawei and they're out of trouble. For now, they're still in timeout, but at least we know they're gonna be out of timeout. Now, probably with my luck, we'll go ahead and put this episode out in the morning. I'll tell you that they're still blacklisted, but at some point today, that blacklisting will go away. That just seems to be how it would go for me. I will tell you that they're still banned, and then the government would be like, nah, and lift the ban. After I just told you they're still banned. But either way, this is complete proof that this was not a security issue. Just as I said, this was a political move. And now the politics have happened. So I'm really glad we wasted all our fucking time. All right, so continuing this I told you so train, in the last episode of Front Page Tech, we talked about Jony Ive leaving Apple, and in that episode I made pretty clear that I felt that he was just phoning it in for the last few years. Like, it makes total sense that he was ready to leave and move on, do something else, because the man deserves it. He deserves it, good for him, but it makes a lot of sense because design-wise, Apple has been a little bit inconsistent, and it just seemed like Johnny was getting ready to leave. Turns out, I was right. Imagine that. No, God! For one, according to Trip Mickle, Jony Ive was one of Apple's most important assets, but he grew apart with the company after Steve Jobs' death, frustrated by its operations focus, say people close to the company. Bloomberg also put out a report stating that Jony Ive had actually started to sort of drift away from his responsibilities, play less of a part at Apple since the Apple Watch launched back in 2015. So effectively, since then, he just sort of had less fucks to give. Less and less fucks every year, which makes sense. I mean, around that point in time, Jony Ive actually talked with The New Yorker and said he became deeply, deeply tired, and that the quote-unquote most difficult year for him was that year leading up to the Apple Watch. His most difficult year for him ever at Apple was that year. You know what else we got that year? Fucking this. Listen, like I said, great for Johnny Ive. He is one of the most talented designers that has ever walked the planet, and he deserves to just be able to move on and do his own thing. Of course, he's going to be working with Apple. We already know that. His company's first client is Apple, but now he's free to do other things, not just work on exclusively Apple stuff and design other shit too, instead of just incremental iPhone stuff, which is, you know what? Safe travels, Johnny. Hey, have you ever used AirDrop on your Apple devices? It's pretty much like magic. Like, that's not software engineering, none of that. That's just straight up fucking magic. Not everything Apple does is great, but AirDrop, oh man, so good, so good. And now Android might actually be getting their own alternative to AirDrop. So apparently they're testing a brand new feature that's called Fast Share that would allow you guys, Android users, to wirelessly transmit photos, text, just files, period, to a nearby device with Bluetooth. Hang on, listen, I can hear your little fingers, your little Android-y fingers down in the comment section just fucking banging on your keyboard. Wait, all right, I know, okay. I know this isn't the first time we've seen something like this. Android Beam is a good example of them trying to do this before using NFC, but of course that required you to literally smack phones together. You had to physically touch the phones, which of course not all devices, not all Android devices on the market supported NFC. Google also allowed you within the Files app to do something similar to this as well, but you had to download another app. So this would be not only an alternative to AirDrop, but also native within Android. And I am all about this, honey. Like, if I could just take 2 pieces of bread, put that feature in between, bam, make a sandwich and eat it. It's so good. What the fuck? I'm not gonna redo this take. I'm just gonna keep that. We have to live with this. We have to live with what I just said. All right, you and me. We're in this together. Toilet Squad for life. Why do you watch this show? And that's the show. Hopefully you liked it, you learned something. If you did, hit that like button. If you hate my stupid face, hit the dislike button. If you're new here, subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.